to it again. If that sounds like your life, you're probably addicted to something. And people are addicted to cigarettes. You watch people smoke. They smoke like junkies. When you watch people smoke, they look like a junkie. No, they look like a junkie. And if you watch some people eat, they look like a junkie. And it's not really society doesn't say, well, you're at McDonald's 3 times a day. You better go to detox. But if you look at obesity, obesity is one of the biggest problems among children in the country right now. And you look at the habits, so you can see there are levels of addiction, there are societal norms about what's acceptable and so forth. There are many things that people are actually addicted to that aren't really illegal or anything. So it's real interesting to try to understand what it's like to be compulsive about your nutrition or your workaholic mentality. But when you want to talk about just the standard kind of stuff, alcohol and drugs, it's a little bit clearer cut. This is the kind of thing that, I'm drinking on the job, I'm drinking at home, I'm drinking only at work, I'm drinking or only at home, never swearing to resign if ever drunk on the job, all these kind of things. You can read the AA Big Book, chapter to the agnostic first paragraph. If when you honestly want to, you cannot, control the amount you drink, or you cannot quit entirely, you're probably alcoholic. If so, you're maybe suffering from an illness which only a spiritual experience will conquer. So, NA has its own way of looking at it. CODA has its own way of looking at it. But, there's over 300 different types of 12-step programs. AA is the biggest, NA is the second biggest. Al-Anon is really up there. And there's some other ones in different parts of the country. Cocaine Anonymous is big in different parts of the country and so forth. But, the long and the short of it is that if you're doing something that you said you don't want to do, and then you do it again, and then it causes problems, and then you say you're never going to do it, and then you do it again, and it causes problems, and you're in a cycle. And you can take a look at my book or the books on recovery that I mentioned, and you can go to some of these meetings and talk about it. But what I've found, I get a lot of questions from people that want to fix their partner, their lover, their family member. They don't understand that they're part of the disease. They're part of the problem. Right. And it's a system. It's a system of illness. So if you're in the family, you got to go to Al-Anon. You got to go to 6 meetings and don't make a decision. Get a sponsor, work the steps so that you can understand what you're doing to contribute to the disease. Yeah. Nobody likes to hear that, but I don't have to deal with that. The program of Al-Anon is there for people.
And it's a wonderful program.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that really survive.
It's a wonderful program. There's nothing to be afraid about in going into those rooms. Yes, it might be a little scary the first time to walk in unannounced, but there is love in those rooms, and one is welcomed. And it can be an amazing transformational experience.
It really is. And, sometimes people give me this, I have a lot of options, and I consider that, the 12-step is one of my options, and I will consider that, and so on and so forth. And I think, here's what you're missing. Nobody says it's the only way, but here's what you're missing. You're missing, if you don't participate in it, you're missing going into a place where every single person there is just like you on some level. They know exactly what it's like. Why did you... the mother may say to the husband, "What do you mean you drained our accounts on online pornography? What do you mean you have a felony and you just lost your license to practice because you were in a porn shop participating in some illegal sexual behavior?" And the sex addict will look at the normie, the non-addict, and say, I don't know. I had to do it. And if you tell that story to another, say, sex addict, they're going to say, "Oh yeah, I know. I got caught at work too." And or I'm using an example from sex addiction, but this works just the same for alcoholism, cocaine, pot. Food Addicts Anonymous is really big right now. A lot of people find a lot of relief in that kind of thing. So, you go into a place where people have lived it, and they're not judging you. There's judgment. Everybody's a jerk in their own way. We're all going to judge each other. But the thing is that there's acceptance there, and there's a there's, it's not like you walk in and it's a warm, flowing blanket of love and everybody hugs you and you're cured. But it is like you go in there and you don't feel so alone and isolated and disconnected anymore, and you understand that there are other people who suffer just like you, and you don't have to do it alone.
That's right. Right.
And that's a solution that I say, well, gee, maybe you can do a bunch of other trips and go on. You can go to some rejuvenation center or something and this and that. Maybe that'll help you. But I mean, there's probably 5 meetings a day in your town, of some sort. And why not utilize that opportunity? Because it's a very, very rich, deep, meaningful resource. There's a lot of really, really beautiful, amazing people.
Oh, yeah.
But they don't want anything from you. It doesn't cost anything.
Right.
You go to a meeting and sit down. Maybe they say to you, "Why don't you get a job in the meeting? Sweep the floor, make coffee, greet people, bring treats. Be the secretary, be the treasurer." That job is not paid. That job keeps you connected and affiliated with your recovering community and makes you feel like you're a part of it. Nobody wants anything from you except for you to be okay.
Yeah.
And they get you. Like, they're not going to get you unless they're an addict too. That's really the point I make to everybody. If you're not an addict, you don't understand why did you spend the rent on crack?
Right.
So you're gonna get understood. Why did you swore you were done?
Yeah.
You said you'd never do this, and I believed you.
Yeah.
So if you're an addict, or if you think you might have a problem, you can explore some of these things. But honestly, the best thing to do is surrender. Drop the rock, join the parade, walk in the meeting, and say, "Look, I'm done. I'm hurting, and I'm alone, and I'm afraid, and this sucks. What do I do?" Ask for help. Surrender to the process.
Yeah.
If you do that, it works. And if you don't like that idea, then you can keep doing what you're doing. But there really is a solution there, and I think, a lot of people come to me and they say, "Oh, well, I don't want to go to AA or something because it's, they're a Christian or something, and I'm Buddhist and this and that, and I'm just going to meditate." And I'm like, well, you're going to meditate your way right into another fix, drink, pill, drug, because you don't have the tools of staying sober.
Right.
So it's fine to be in meditation and these different practices, but we really do have to have the priority of being sober in order to make those things work well for us in our life,
That's right. And the funny thing about all this is our mentality when we're actively in our addiction is that it would be terribly difficult to try and make a change and go to meetings or find some kind of 3-month program or some way to address the problem. But the truth of the matter is, from my own experience, having had long periods of sobriety and intermittent, and now I have about a little over a year, is that it is the easier, softer way. It really is. It's the easier, softer way, because once you let go and you accept what is, and this speaks to what you mentioned earlier, then it's all easy. It's like, oh, okay, I have a problem and I'm in the right place and I'm doing everything I can and I'm with people who understand me. And one of the things I like about the people in the rooms is that they've been through some horrific experiences, and that tends to really tear away the ego. And so it's not a room full of egotistical, although there are egotistical people. We all have ego, and that's part of what we need to work on. And that's part of the spiritual process. But you find a lot of people who have compassion because they've been in the food bins and sleeping in streets and needles in their arms and the whole 9 yards. And you realize that you yourself could go lower if you didn't address your problem. So it really is refreshing to be able to be with people who are of like mind and all different at the same time.
I couldn't agree more. And that's what I do. That's why I got 5,000 days.
And I love it. And it's so ironic that you have that tonight. I mean, it's really a wonderful validation that you're meant to be on this program. And if one does believe in a higher power, and I do, however I choose to perceive it, I do believe that it works in very strange and sometimes obvious ways. And this is one of those things that is a validation for me that this is an important topic, and you have a wonderful message, and that you have a great book that can help people, and maybe it will be an opening into other doors will open. Before we go on, I want to make sure that people know your website address. It is the 12stepbuddhist.com, and you have a lot of wonderful information on there, and there's a place where people can ask you questions, and there's all kinds of resources there for people to draw upon. So I highly recommend that people who are interested go check out your website and find out more about it.
Yeah, I've got some podcasts, and I haven't done one in a while. I've got some blogs. You can get the blog on Kindle and so forth. I'm going to write a new article, actually starting a new article on the 5,000 days and some yoga practices that I'm working on, integrating that stuff into my recovery. So there's always new, interesting information coming forward, but, get the book and get a copy for your therapist and your spouse. Leave one on the bathroom table by accident for the person. And, I get a lot of people tell me, my therapist, I had somebody tell me on Facebook the other day, my shrink's reading your book. And, there's a lot of ways of looking at things. And, like you said, it's about opening up to different, there's so many different ways of looking at things, and it's about opening up to a couple things just to free yourself up so that you don't feel like you're stuck in a box.
Right.
And you get a little bit of freedom, and it becomes kind of fun. Like somebody said one time, you have to wear your recovery like a loose shirt. You can be a little bit more free-flowing and have a better time if you're not so hard line and, super militant and rigid and this kind of thing. So, there's a lot of ways to go to soften around the edges and open up the heart of compassion, start to find some deeper meaning to things, because, this is what happens when I stop drinking and using, I start to suffer. The problem is I don't have my medicine. If you take away the substances, events, processes, or people, and what you're left with is the chronic, acute, long-term psychic pain that got you there in the first place. And so finding what we call in 12-step a sufficient substitute, and vastly more than that, using things like meditation, mindfulness practice, changing your diet, getting some counseling, quitting smoking, a few less trips to the donut shop, things like this. A lot of stuff starts to change, and you really start to feel different. There's this famous speaker that says, first it gets real, then it gets different, then it gets real different.
That's good. I like that. Well, with a clear mind, and it takes some time for the mind to clear, I find that there are more doors opening for me, and I'm able to see things in a different light and get more done, and I'm able to join in with other people where I was a hermit and isolating before, and it's a wonderful experience.
Fantastic.
One of the things that I heard in the rooms a long time ago, and this applies to the fact that sometimes we have good days and sometimes we have bad days. Well, it's also like that in recovery. And somebody once said, not every day can be a Doris day. So it's important to remember that even without substances, we will have days that are up and down, but we can get through them. And there is help and support and safety net there.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, my main focus isn't really the front line treatment. There's a lot of programs. There are a lot of people. There are a lot of meth addicts on the street that can go into program, and a lot of things people can do to get detox and get sober. My focus is not that it isn't important. I'd help anybody who asked me for it, but the sober for a while.